Thank you. Thanks, Phil. Very nice to meet you and see you. And thanks to invite me. Can you see the screen, right? Okay. So basically, my this presentation is based on my experience on ChatGPT and general generative AI from the teacher perspective point of view. Everything was the aim is to understand how artificial intelligence in general and generative AI is changing the way we teach to students and how it can be used to personalize the student experience and create a better student experience, of course. During the years, we have seen the evolution of the concept of learning space. Especially after the pandemic, what we have seen is that this learning space is not anymore a physical space where students or teachers going there to teach and learn, but we had a new concept in terms of digital and more active learning space, especially thanks to the benefits that we had from all the digital platform and technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, extended reality, and these foster a better experience for the students, especially for all the students that are from different countries or different background, despite you are a biology student or an engineering student, no matter what is your technical background, you find yourself belong to some sort of a community, learning community. Now, what happened with the introduction of generative AI? Can this powerful tool, I have to say, support the teacher in order to foster a personalized learning experience, especially for classes where you have 60, 70, and many more students? It's unthinkable to create a personalized experience for each of them just essentially using human capabilities. I specifically use ChatGPT to do so, just because it was the most essentially trendy one. But there are lots of other generative AI. The main advantage of ChatGPT compared to the traditional AI chatbots is that they are based on a technology that has memory of past discussion, let's say in this way, that you had with it. So differently from the traditional chatbot that they lack of this memory, the ChatGPT is powerful for this reason. So you can create a human-like conversation with it. I try to use in different ways, from the most elementary things in terms of content creation, like slides or laboratory material, even create some sort of personalized assessment for the students, and also to create new modules and new programs in our department. I have to say that my conclusion was that he did a tremendous job, honestly speaking. And as far as I incremented the level of difficulty, so I'm going from the simple slide creation to the module or program creation, he was able to create more suitable responses and more suitable material for the students. There are lots of points that we can discuss on, but for sake of brevity, I will focus mainly on three main points, I think, on ChatGPT. The first one is the possibility to flip the critical thinking to a new learning model. We all are concerned essentially on that students who use AI will miss out basically on developing critical thinking skills. this is a concern, a general concern. And okay, it is also my concern as a lecturer, as an educator, but this problem can be prevented by flipping the teaching model, meaning, for example, that to use properly ChatGPT, the student must ask the right question to unlock the specific information. So an approach that's the reversing somehow how critical thinking is traditionally tough and test, meaning that until now we teach information and then we quit students. Now we just flip the way, by using ChatGPT, we flip the way how we teach this. Moreover, teaching students how to prompt an AI is kind of quite important, especially for their job, their future job, because we let students how to think about right prompts is some kind of an effective way to help them in developing critical thinking skills. So students can learn from a different perspective point of view. Instead of receiving passive information from the teacher, he is forced to go and search for that information specifically in order to create a proper prompt to obtain a proper answer from ChatGPT. The second point is essentially use this tool to support the educators. So we can talk about, for example, automatic grade assignment, deeper analysis of the student's need or of the student's background, technical background or cultural background. We can talk about essentially deliver assessment, personalized assessment, personalized to the student's needs, essentially. So the teaching will be more accessible, essentially in this way, and also we can expedite some administrative stuff, let's say. They all are great things, okay, but of course ChatGPT has lots of limitations. These limitations that you can find in essentially in these slides is kind of has been already overcome by the use of, for example, plugins. Think about the way we can change how to teach things. For example, a good example is when you have a class of different students that they speak English, they all speak English, but they eventually comes from a different country, so they speak, for example, another language. So you can interact with that student with their native language. I'm not English mother tongue, so I'm from Italy, and this could be, for example, for me as a student, could be a great addition, in terms of understanding the topic that I'm learning in my own language, because I'm more confident eventually in my own language rather than. And this plugin, for example, is called Speak, and for ChatGPT. I use this in my assessment, summative and formative assessment, and did a great job. And the student increase his success. The student success rate increase a lot. I have to say, because I reached out that students that they learn properly in their native language. Another thing regarding the plugins, there is also another plugin called Duolingo, where essentially has some feature like explain the answer and created the role play. So the explain my answer, explain the answer that ChatGPT gives explain in their own language. So to understand if the essentially the student was right or wrong and asking more clarification even during the teaching session in his own language. So also the other feature that is the role play can assist the teacher in a way, like, for example, if you have lots of students in your class and the AI can be some kind of a mentor role model where learners ask several things, and the AI, in this case, the ChatGPT, basically suggests the learners to fine-tuning the use of a specific, for example, of a specific the engineering, the prompt engineering, and so the use of the ChatGPT. Of course, there are lots of other, let's say, concern, because these are lots of advantages in using ChatGPT for teachers, but there are lots of concern. One of my main concern when I did this study was, are we really personalizing the student experience, or we are trying to essentially standardize the student experience? This is more a question rather than a statement, because eventually we still need to answer to this question. Finally, to conclude, otherwise I would speak for hours. There are lots of concern in terms of using generative AI for teaching. All suitable concern, but banning this technology, in my opinion, is a mistake, because and I think is the university recently realized the mistake that they were doing in banning this technology before, because at the end of the day, no sophisticated machine can never replace the creativity of a human being, of a teacher, but can only help to augment the possibility, the capabilities, rather than replace the teacher itself. And that's it.
Amazing, Luigi. Thank you so much. There's been a lot of discussion in the chat, which I have been struggling to keep up with, if I'm honest. But there are certainly lots of questions. I do have one question here, and I think Steve is then going to ask a question from the chat after that, if that's okay. We've got a question from Lynn in the chat, and Lynn says, Luigi, how do you access the features of Duolingo that you describe? I use Duolingo on my phone, but couldn't find these features.
Yeah, so basically, as a teacher, we have the ChatGPT Plus subscription. So you can use on. The problem is that there is no ChatGPT app for now for Android. So I have an Android phone, so I cannot use ChatGPT on the phone, but I can use on my PC. So on PC you can access and create use this plugin, install the plugin in your account, and it will basically link with your account, Duolingo account that you have. You can access through the PC, but you cannot access for now. They release a news regarding that there will be a ChatGPT app for Android.
Great, thank you. And Steve, did you want to just quickly ask that question as well?
Sorry, Phil, was that the one from Lynn Allen?
The one that you sent me, Steve.
Yeah. It was all about how do you create and sustain common ground in a tailored learning space?
What do you mean, sustainable common ground?
Let's see. How to ensure everyone is exposed to engage with the same sort of baseline experience to start with. I think that's the general gist of the query. Sorry, Lynn, if I'm mashing this up, but I think that's the question. and how to balance the value of community experiences versus tailored to individuals?
Yeah, this is the $1 million question, actually, because there is not right answer in this. Everything so far is based on my experience. So what I practically did, is that I use, meanwhile I was teaching to the, let's say, community, to the class, I was using at the same time the ChatGPT software for the students. So at the end of the day, is a balance that comes from the experience of the lecturer, of the educator. Cannot be essentially a golden rule, let's say, in this sense. Sometimes it is difficult because you have lots of students, especially for first-year students. So the ChatGPT can be helpful in analyzing the data of these students and giving back to you some features that eventually, as a human being, you will be able to see just after 1 year, after carefully consider all the learning profile of the students. So in this sense, ChatGPT can be very helpful and very speedy in doing so.
Brilliant. Thank you, Luigi. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's actually taken us to time. I know we've got some hands up, but if you do have your hand up, if you could ask the question in the chat, and Luigi, if you'd be kind enough just to take a look at that, any questions that are in there, that would be really helpful. So thank you.